You believe you choose your reactions, but something older already chose them. For years you were trained to chase strength, yet ignore the mind behind it. If you want real power without cruelty, listen carefully to what you were never taught. Real power begins long before words appear. It starts inside your emotional reflexes. You think you are responding freely, yet your nervous system follows silent old scripts. Every sigh, every raised tone, every sudden silence already pulls a program inside you. Someone who understands those programs does not need open aggression or loud control. They only need to press the right emotional button, and your behavior adjusts automatically. The first hidden rule is simple. Whoever controls emotional tempo controls the invisible throne. Emotional tempo means the speed and intensity of your inner reactions. When another person speeds you up or slows you down, they adjust your mental focus. They push you towards panic, guilt, anger, or confusion while they remain centered. A stable mind can observe this shift. An unstable mind drowns inside it. Machiavellian-style thinking is often misunderstood as cruelty or cold destruction. In truth, when purified and made healthy, it becomes strategic emotional intelligence. It is the art of seeing reactions as pieces on a psychological board. Not to crush them, but to understand them, redirect them, and stay free from them. The first upgrade is this: you must stop worshiping your emotions as honest rulers. Your emotions are real in feeling, but rarely accurate in interpretation. They exaggerate danger, they repeat old fears, they cling to outdated memories. When someone triggers insecurity, your body reacts as if history is repeating itself. You feel abandoned, disrespected, ignored, or attacked even before facts are clear. The manipulative mind counts on this automatic confusion to gain quiet advantage. Silent psychology works like an invisible script. It makes you argue with yourself. You replay words inside your head. You imagine hidden meanings behind simple expressions. You build entire emotional storms from a few vague signals and pauses. The more you replay, the less you observe, and the easier you are directed. This is why calm presence is the first true shield of power. Calm presence is not emotional numbness. It is disciplined attention to inner movements. You feel the surge rising, but you do not immediately act from it. You notice the tightening chest, the rushing thoughts, the urge to defend or attack. Instead of obeying them, you silently label them as temporary visitors. You say inside your mind, this is fear speaking, this is wounded pride. The moment you name the emotion, its grip becomes weaker, not stronger. Naming turns chaos into information. Information is the currency of inner power. Those who cannot name their emotions are ruled by them without defense. Those who can name them gain enough distance to choose a different response. This distance is where Machiavellian awareness becomes emotional wisdom, not emotional cruelty. Another hidden rule: never fight the first impulse directly, just slow it down. When you resist emotion with force, it often grows louder and more stubborn. When you slow it down with attention and breathing, it loses urgency. You become an observer instead of a soldier blindly rushing into battle. From this observer position, you see how others were secretly steering your reactions. Notice how often people try to change your state quickly. They raise or lower their tone, they delay answers, they give half information. Each move pulls your attention into uncertainty, and uncertainty amplifies emotional noise. You start guessing meanings, you create stories, you feel small or threatened inside. The calm strategist does the opposite. They refuse to be dragged into sudden tempo. When someone pushes for quick reaction, you slow everything down internally. You breathe deeper, you relax your jaw and shoulders, you feel your feet. You let silence exist without rushing to fill it with nervous words. This makes the invisible game visible, because pressure becomes easy to recognize. Where others feel cornered, you feel curious, you watch instead of collapse. Curiosity is a powerful antidote to emotional manipulation. Instead of thinking this is an attack, you think this is data. You silently collect information about tone, timing, and patterns of behavior. You ask inside, what state are they trying to push me into now? Are they aiming for guilt, fear, admiration, confusion, or desperate agreement? Once you see the target state, you detach your identity from it. You say internally, they want me guilty, but I can just observe this pull. The feeling may still move through your body, but you no longer fuse with it. This separation is the birthplace of calm, unshakable presence. From here you can answer slowly or not answer at all. Silence, when used consciously, is a high-level emotional weapon and shield. Most minds cannot tolerate silence. They rush to fill it with explanation. They reveal their weak points, their insecurities, their need for approval. The Machiavellian yet ethical mind uses silence to watch those automatic leaks. You learn more by pausing than by reacting, more by observing than by defending. But silence must not become passive surrender. It must be intentional and awake. You are not freezing. You are watching, measuring, feeling your own signals. You notice which words make your heartbeat spike, which expressions cut your confidence. You map your emotional weak spots with brutal honesty, but without self-hatred. This map becomes your private book of power, written inside your nervous system. To improve emotional intelligence in this deep way, you must train 3 abilities. First, the ability to sense your internal state in real time. Second, the ability to name it precisely without judging yourself harshly. Third, the ability to choose a response that serves long-term balance. These 3 abilities turn emotional chaos into a controlled inner empire. Sensing means you regularly scan your body and mind during interactions. You notice tightness, heat, shaking, shallow breathing, and racing thoughts. You do not dramatize them, you simply acknowledge them as active signals. This prevents surprise explosions later, because nothing stays completely unconscious. The more you sense early, the less you erupt suddenly later. Naming requires a rich emotional vocabulary inside simple words. Instead of saying only angry, you might say threatened, embarrassed, or disrespected. Each label points to a slightly different need and mental story. The more exact you become, the less confused you feel by reactions. Precision creates clarity. Clarity reduces the grip of invisible psychological chains. Choosing a response is where power psychology becomes fully ethical. You are no longer a slave to instinct, yet you are not cruel. You pick words that protect your boundary without unnecessary aggression. You allow yourself to remain calm, even when others expect emotional fireworks. This calm defiance often destabilizes those who depend on your old patterns. They notice you no longer rush to apologize for everything instantly. You do not jump to fix every discomfort. You do not over-explain. You stop performing for invisible approval, and this changes the entire dynamic. Many subtle controllers lose their influence because your emotional hooks disappear. You become harder to guilt, harder to provoke, harder to drag into chaos. However, this new stability creates a different risk: quiet internal arrogance. You might start believing you are above emotion, untouchable and superior. This belief is another trap because it blinds you to new patterns. Emotional intelligence is not emotional superiority. It is humble, continuous observation. The moment you think you are immune, you become easy to surprise. The deeper truth is unsettling. Your mind can be hijacked even through admiration. Flattery can soften your guard faster than open disrespect. When someone praises your calmness excessively, they might be seeking hidden leverage. They position you as the wise one, then slowly feed your ego. Once your self-image becomes dependent on them, your clarity weakens quietly. The antidote is brutal inner honesty about your hunger for validation. Everyone carries some form of this hunger. Pretending otherwise is dangerous. Acknowledge that you like respect, appreciation, and soft admiration. Do not demonize this, just see how it can be weaponized against you. Then you choose to anchor your worth in inner standards, not shifting approval. You start asking different silent questions inside yourself during emotional moments. Not why are they doing this to me? Instead you ask, what inside me is reacting so quickly to this? Which belief, which old wound, which unexamined expectation is being touched? This shift turns you from hunted prey into aware watcher of your own mind. Slowly, you realize the most important Machiavellian law of emotional strength. Power is not about controlling others first, it is about mastering your triggers. A mind that can watch fear without collapsing becomes hard to exploit. A mind that can sit with discomfort without rushing becomes rare and valuable. Such a mind radiates silent authority, even without loud words or aggressive posture. Yet there remains a deeper layer you have not fully seen yet. There are specific psychological laws that quietly shape perception in every interaction. They influence who gets respect, who gets ignored, who seems naturally dominant. You have felt these forces all your life, without knowing their hidden structure. The question is simple. Are you ready to see how those laws choose you before you choose yourself? You think you understand the forces shaping people, but something deeper shapes you first. Your calm moments feel natural, yet hidden triggers still decide your inner direction. If you want unbreakable presence, you must learn the laws that act before thought. Every mind operates under quiet psychological currents that are older than logic. These currents decide who you trust, who you fear, and who you obey silently. You sense them in the atmosphere of any interaction, yet you rarely question them. You accept the emotional tone set by others without recognizing its origin. This is how unseen power enters your behavior long before any words appear. The second hidden truth is this: emotional influence travels faster than conscious awareness. Before you interpret a single sentence, your nervous system reads signals. Micro-expressions, breathing rhythm, and subtle tension guide your reactions. These signals decide whether you shrink, rise, freeze, or stay neutral. The one who understands these invisible cues can direct your responses quietly. To become truly strong, you must reverse this process inside yourself. You must learn to notice the shift before your mind follows it blindly. You must catch the emotional gravity pulling you towards insecurity or urgency. This requires training your senses to pick up the earliest internal changes. The earlier you notice, the more control you gain over what happens next. Begin with the silent scan, a technique older than most modern psychology. You observe your body from the inside without reacting to the sensations. Tight chest, shallow breath, pressure behind the eyes, warm surge in the stomach. These sensations are early warnings, not enemies, not commands to obey. When you feel them, you pause internally and reduce their influence. The manipulative mind relies on delayed awareness. It counts on slow realization. It knows that once the emotional wave peaks, you will defend instinctively. You might speak too fast, apologize too quickly, or argue without clarity. At that point, you lose the advantage because you react more than you observe. The secret is to interrupt the wave before it gains full momentum. Interruption does not mean ignoring the feeling, it means disarming it gently. You breathe deeper, you relax your muscles, you loosen your jaw. These small physical adjustments send signals back to the nervous system. They tell your mind the threat is smaller than your reflex suggests. Your emotional intensity drops and clarity returns slowly. When clarity returns, you gain access to the subtler layers of power. You start noticing how people shift their behavior based on your reactions. They adjust their tone when you stay calm. They rethink their strategy. Your presence becomes unpredictable because you do not follow old patterns. This unpredictability creates a psychological advantage without aggression. The next law is subtle but powerful: control the frame or lose the frame. Frame is the invisible lens that shapes meaning in any moment. If someone raises their voice, the frame becomes urgency or dominance. If someone acts distant, the frame becomes insecurity or rejection. Your frame decides how you interpret these moves inside yourself. Most people accept the frame given to them without question. They react to the tone instead of redefining the meaning of the moment. They let the other person decide whether this is a crisis or a test. They allow tension to dictate their emotional state automatically. This surrender of inner authority creates long-term psychological weakness. To stay strong, you must create your own internal frame deliberately. Your frame might be calm analysis, detached curiosity, or emotional patience. You hold this frame no matter how much pressure enters the atmosphere. When someone tries to provoke speed, you slow down. When someone tries to trigger insecurity, you anchor deeply into neutrality. Soon you notice something surprising. People unconsciously submit to stronger frames. Not through fear, but through resonance, they follow the emotional stability they feel. When your frame is calm yet alert, people sense steadiness without explanation. They stop pushing aggressively because your energy does not feed the conflict. They start mirroring your control instead of imposing their chaos on you. Another hidden principle shapes influence at a deeper level, the law of internal gravity. Gravity is the emotional pull you create around your presence. If your mind is scattered, others do not feel guided, they feel restless. If your mind is centered, people feel anchored without knowing why. This internal gravity forms naturally when your reactions remain disciplined. Disciplined reactions do not mean emotional coldness, they mean emotional choice. You decide when to respond, when to stay quiet, and when to release tension. You stop allowing random triggers to overpower your internal balance. With time, this creates a subtle magnetic effect on the atmosphere around you. People treat you differently when your inner gravity is stable and warm. Yet the path is not simple, because your old emotional habits resist this change. Your mind will try to return to familiar reactions when pressure rises. You may feel the urge to explain, justify, apologize, or seek reassurance. These urges are residues of old emotional survival patterns. To break them, you must train the discipline of delayed reaction. Delayed reaction is not avoidance, it is psychological mastery. You let the emotional impulse rise, peak, and settle slightly before acting. This protects you from reacting from wounded ego or sudden panic. It allows you to choose words from clarity instead of insecurity. Those who delay reactions gain an advantage in every tense situation. Look closely at how most conflicts escalate internally. The first reaction is emotional, not logical, and it is usually exaggerated. Your mind tries to fill missing information with fear-based assumptions. You imagine intentions that may not exist. You amplify tone into attack. The manipulative mind counts on these internal distortions to gain power. You reverse this system by asking a simple internal question. What emotions are being activated inside me right now? Curiosity interrupts emotional storytelling. It breaks automatic momentum. Your attention shifts from reaction to analysis, from panic to observation. This small shift creates a large psychological distance between you and the trigger. Distance is the foundation of emotional power because distance reveals structure. From distance, you can see why the moment feels intense, not just how it feels. You identify pressure, expectation, ambiguity, and hidden emotional hooks. You see how your nervous system was being pulled into an old role. Once you see the structure, the influence weakens naturally. Then comes another law, one few people ever notice, the law of emotional scarcity. People value the emotional response that is less available. If you react too quickly, your emotional presence becomes cheap. If you react too emotionally, your weakness becomes visible. If you react too predictably, your influence becomes low. Scarcity does not mean withholding warmth. It means protecting your emotional rhythm. You choose when to reveal feelings, not out of fear but out of intelligence. You let your reactions carry weight by not offering them to every small trigger. You create emotional space around yourself that others respect. This space becomes an unspoken boundary, stronger than many spoken words. Your calm presence becomes a signal, not a performance. You give others the sense that you cannot be easily manipulated. You appear thoughtful, measured, and difficult to provoke. People unconsciously adjust their behavior around you with more caution. They sense your stability and treat you with subtle respect. But emotional strength alone is not enough. There is another layer that decides true influence. Your mind must understand the patterns behind the patterns. Why certain tones bother you, why certain expressions activate old fears. These triggers have roots that stretch deeper than everyday interactions. They come from old emotional survival strategies that formed long ago. To uncover them, you must practice internal decoding, a silent psychological method. You watch your reaction and ask, What story is this emotion repeating? Which expectation of acceptance or rejection is shaping this response? Is this pain from the present moment or from a past memory? This inner decoding exposes the hidden architecture of your reactions. Once you see the architecture, you gain the power to redesign it. You no longer let old stories guide your emotional choices. You replace reactive patterns with deliberate ones grounded in awareness. This shift leads to a rare form of mental autonomy. Your mind becomes your ally instead of your unpredictable enemy. But there is still one more invisible psychological force you must face. A force that shapes who gets influence and who loses it instantly. A force you feel but cannot name. A force that decides presence without words. You have sensed this force many times, but never understood its mechanics. It is the law that separates quiet authority from quiet insecurity. Are you ready to see the unseen element that controls how powerful you appear before you even speak? You sense something powerful in certain people, but you cannot explain why. Your mind tells you it is confidence, yet your instincts know it is something deeper. If you want that silent authority yourself, you must uncover the force beneath it. Before any word is spoken, your presence communicates a hidden psychological code. This code decides whether people respect you, ignore you, or subtly dominate you. The strange part is this: you transmit this code automatically without intention. Your breathing, your micro-tension, your mental speed all reveal your internal state. Others read this state instantly without realizing they are reading it. The third hidden law is this: people respond to your internal posture, not your external words. Internal posture means the emotional alignment inside your mind and body. If your posture collapses inward, your presence becomes weak without visible signs. If your posture expands quietly, your presence becomes strong without effort. Most people adjust their posture unconsciously based on pressure from others. To control this, you must learn the art of conscious emotional positioning. You decide how your inner axis stands before the interaction begins. Your axis must feel grounded, steady, and slow, even when tension appears. You do not rush to defend yourself. You do not bend to silent pressure. You hold your inner center like an unmoving pillar in a shifting room. Your breathing becomes your first tool. It shapes your psychological weight. Shallow breath signals uncertainty and invites dominance from others. Deep, slow breath signals calm competence and reduces emotional noise. Your mind becomes clearer because your body stops sending threat signals. Your presence becomes heavier, not in sadness but in grounded awareness. This grounding leads to another principle, the law of emotional neutrality. Neutrality is not coldness. It is the ability to remain centered during tension. You do not overreact to disrespect. You do not collapse under pressure. You do not cling to approval. You do not fear temporary discomfort. Neutrality makes your energy unpredictable, and unpredictability creates respect. Predictable reactions make you easy to read and easy to influence. If people know you get nervous under silence, they use silence. If they know you rush to explain, they create confusion. If they know you soften under flattery, they increase praise. A neutral presence breaks these patterns instantly. Neutrality gives you time, and time gives you psychological leverage. When you do not rush to fill space, others reveal their intentions quickly. Their tone changes, their expression shifts, their emotional leaks become visible. You collect information silently while they try to interpret your stillness. The more they guess, the more they reveal about their internal strategy. This leads to the next hidden law, the law of perceived hierarchy. Every interaction creates a temporary, invisible hierarchy. It is not about domination, it is about emotional influence. Who sets the tempo, who remains stable, who adjusts more. The one who adjusts less quietly occupies the higher position. You increase your position by reducing unnecessary emotional adjustments. You do not imitate their pace, you do not mirror their tension. You let them adapt to your rhythm instead of adapting to theirs. This shift may seem small, but it changes the entire dynamic. People unconsciously align with the energy that remains most constant. Constancy must not be rigid, it must be calm and aware. Rigid energy feels defensive and invites challenges. Calm energy feels grounded and invites respect. You carry this constancy by stabilizing your inner temperature. You refuse to let external pressure define your state. Inner temperature rises when your thoughts speed up. You feel heat in the chest, pressure in the forehead, rapid heartbeat. These signals tell you someone is altering your internal environment. Instead of reacting, you observe the sensation with calm curiosity. This observation cools the temperature and returns your clarity. Clarity is dangerous to subtle manipulators because they lose control. Their tactics rely on emotional fog, not emotional stability. They depend on your confusion, not your awareness. When your mind remains steady, their hidden moves become obvious. You see their tone shifts, timing games, and emotional traps. One such trap is psychological rushing, a method used to force quick decisions. They shorten pauses, increase intensity, or create silent tension. Their goal is to make you react faster than your clarity. Fast reaction removes the space needed for inner power. You neutralize this trap by slowing your internal pace deliberately. Slow pace does not mean slow speech, it means slow inner movement. Your breathing is steady, your mind is spacious, your awareness is wide. You answer from grounded presence, not from pressured instinct. This confuses those who rely on rapid emotional manipulation. They feel their control slipping and adjust their behavior. Another rule emerges from this stillness: people test what moves easily. If your emotions shift too quickly, you become a target for subtle pressure. If your energy collapses under silence, they increase silence. If your state wavers under tension, they amplify tension. But when your state remains steady, tests lose their effect. Steadiness builds something rare, the aura of quiet reliability. Others sense they can trust your reactions because they are not reckless. They see you as composed, aware, and emotionally mature. This trust increases your influence gently, without aggressive effort. Your presence becomes a place of balance in an unstable world. Yet with rising presence comes a deeper challenge: maintaining internal alignment. Alignment means your actions, emotions, and principles match each other. If you fake calmness, people sense the inconsistency. If you pretend confidence, micro-tensions reveal your doubt. True alignment forms when you stop fighting your emotions and start guiding them. Guiding requires recognizing emotional patterns before they become behavior. You feel the early rise of irritation, but do not act from it. You sense the start of insecurity, but do not let it define you. You acknowledge every surge with honesty and patience. This internal honesty strengthens your emotional muscles over time. But emotional muscles are not enough. You need psychological roots. Roots give you stability when pressure becomes intense. Roots come from the beliefs you hold about yourself. If your worth depends on external approval, your roots are weak. If your worth comes from inner standards, your roots are strong. Inner standards are chosen intentionally, not inherited from old pain. You decide how you want to respond, what behavior aligns with your strength. You hold yourself to this internal code, even under tension. This creates a consistent presence that others feel instinctively. You become someone who is neither reactive nor passive. Still, one more silent force governs your emotional influence. A force that shapes how people experience you within the first seconds. A force that determines who commands attention and who blends into the background. You have felt this force many times, but never understood its origin. It is the psychological element that decides presence before personality. Are you ready to uncover the invisible filter that controls how people perceive your strength the moment you enter their awareness? You feel judged the moment you enter a space, yet you never see the mechanism. You sense instant impressions forming around you, but you cannot explain their speed. If you want true inner power, you must decode the filter shaping these silent conclusions. Before anyone hears your voice, their mind scans you through a primitive emotional filter. This filter measures safety, stability, and psychological weight within seconds. It examines your tension, your calmness, your micro movements without conscious thought. People do not choose their first impression of you, their instincts choose it for them. And this instinct responds to your inner state far more than your physical appearance. The fourth hidden law reveals itself here. Presence is the projection of your emotional baseline. Your baseline is the default emotional state you return to when nothing forces you. Is your baseline anxious, defensive, or uncertain? People will feel inconsistency. Is your baseline calm, centered, or grounded? People will feel authority. Your baseline leaks through your eyes, posture, and micro-expressions automatically. Once you understand this, you stop trying to perform confidence. Performance is unstable because it depends on external approval. Presence is stable because it comes from internal alignment. Your goal is not to appear strong. Your goal is to be emotionally rooted. Rooted minds command respect without demanding it. Rooting begins with awareness of your internal pace. Your internal pace is how fast your thoughts and reactions move. When your pace is rushed, others feel a restless vibration from you. When your pace is slow and steady, others sense a silent power. They may not understand it, but they will respond to it. Psychological presence is not about loudness. It is about controlled internal movement. A mind with slow, clear internal movement radiates stability effortlessly. People feel safe around you because you are not driven by chaotic impulses. They trust you because your reactions are consistent and intentional. They respect you because your energy does not collapse under pressure. But this presence requires one more essential ingredient: the ability to hold tension. Holding tension means staying relaxed while discomfort expands inside you. Most people break when tension rises. Their face changes, their tone shifts. They reveal insecurity through micro-reactions they cannot hide. Those who hold tension maintain stable energy even when tested. This stability does something remarkable. It rewrites the invisible hierarchy. Others who intended to dominate you adjust their approach. They soften their tone, they reduce their emotional pressure. Your calmness disrupts their unconscious strategy. Your presence forces them to mirror your stability. Now comes the fifth law, the law of controlled emotional exposure. You must understand when to reveal emotion and when to stay neutral. Not to manipulate others, but to protect your internal clarity. If you reveal emotion too quickly, you give away your psychological map. If you reveal emotion too rarely, you appear detached and unapproachable. Controlled exposure means you choose moments of genuine emotional expression. You show warmth when it strengthens connection, not when it weakens boundaries. You show firmness when clarity is needed, not when ego is threatened. You show vulnerability only when it deepens trust, not when it creates weakness. This balance creates rare authenticity wrapped inside strong awareness. But awareness alone is not enough. You need mastery of the last internal force. A force that decides whether your presence rises or collapses in challenging moments. A force that shapes your entire identity through repeated emotional episodes. This is the law of inner narrative, the story you silently tell yourself. Your inner narrative becomes your emotional truth, even when it is not factual. If your inner narrative says you are powerless, your body reflects that belief. Your shoulders tighten, your voice softens, your reactions speed up. People sense this collapse before you even speak. If your inner narrative says you are centered, your body aligns accordingly. Your breathing deepens, your movements slow, your presence widens. Inner narrative decides the quality of your emotional baseline. A strong baseline requires a narrative rooted in self-trust. Self-trust is not confidence in success. It is confidence in your ability to stay steady. You trust your awareness, your discipline, and your ability to remain calm. This trust creates internal peace, even in the presence of external tension. Peace then becomes strength, not softness. People feel drawn to those who hold peace in chaotic moments. Your calmness becomes a signal of hidden competence. Your silence becomes a signal of thoughtful power. Your steadiness becomes a signal of emotional maturity. But here lies the final revelation, the last hidden twist in this psychological manual. You cannot develop real presence if you keep obeying invisible emotional rules. Rules you never chose, rules you inherited from old patterns and survival responses. To gain mastery, you must break those automatic rules one by one. You must rewrite your internal programming with deliberate awareness. You break the rule of rushing by slowing your internal tempo consciously. You break the rule of reacting by observing before responding. You break the rule of insecurity by aligning your mind with inner standards. You break the rule of self-betrayal by honoring your emotional truth. You break the rule of old fear by choosing calm honesty over automatic defense. When these rules break, something rare emerges. Your presence becomes firm without aggression, warm without weakness. Your influence grows without force, your clarity sharpens without tension. Your identity strengthens without noise, your authority stabilizes without effort. You become someone whose silence carries more weight than many loud voices. And now the final question rises, a question only a stable mind can face. After learning how emotional power forms, how presence shapes perception, and how internal forces direct your reactions, the real challenge begins. If every emotion inside you can be shaped, trained, and redirected, then who will you become when you finally choose your emotional identity instead of inheriting it?